So I'm starting off this video with a bunch of contradicting thoughts in my head because the specs that I'm about to show you for these pre-built gaming PCs at the super low prices that you're about to see is amazing. But is it actually worth buying one of these pre-builts from HP? So let's just jump into it. I'll show you guys the PCs that I'm looking at, and you guys can give me your opinion as to whether or not you would actually buy one of these computers. So the biggest deals that I am looking at and I'm super interested in are these HP Pavilion Gaming Desktop price drops that HP is throwing at us right now. So the majority of the Omen series of gaming PCs, they've seen a little bit of a price cut, but they're still kind of overpriced for the hardware and the specs that you're actually getting. But the HP Pavilion Gaming Desktops have some super low prices and some really, really good hardware. So the cheapest option right now that you can get from HP is this $499 HP gaming desktop with a Ryzen 3. So it's a Ryzen 3 5300G and an RX 5500. Now I bought this computer probably 6 months ago now at this point, and I did a full review on it. It was an awesome PC for under 650 bucks, and now you can get it for under 500. So kind of taking a step back, with any HP Pavilion gaming desktop, you're getting extremely limited upgradability. You might be able to change out a CPU, change out the graphics card, and change out your RAM, but the motherboard is a completely customized form factor. You're not going to be able to upgrade a power supply in there. So whatever comes in this system is kind of what you're stuck with. So this is a super awesome build for a first-time PC gamer who's trying to get a pre-built gaming PC and then maybe wants to keep it for a couple years, sell it on the secondhand market, and then upgrade to either building their own PC down the line or buying a better pre-built in the future. But a 5300G, 8 gigs of RAM in dual channel, a RX 5500, and a 256 gig SSD for $499 is pretty insane. And you also get a 400 watt power supply, so you can definitely upgrade your graphics card down the line to a higher spec card. So there's definitely some limitations, I would say, in how far I would take this HP Pavilion, purely because the cooling on the HP Pavilion cases is pretty poor, but you can definitely get away with kind of the max specs that you will see here. So for an extra 90 bucks, it's hard to not upgrade to a 1660 Super. You're going to get way better performance over the RX 5500 or a 1650 Super if you're able to upgrade to that GTX 1660 Super. And there's 1660 Super builds going right now for $1,000 on Amazon, Best Buy, all of the major retailers. You really can't get a 1660 Super build for like less than 900 bucks. And of course, those systems are upgradable. They're using pretty much all off-the-shelf hardware, so you can upgrade it. You can swap things out. You can do a case swap if you wanted to. Whereas with this, you're stuck with what you're getting. But again, if you're going to keep it for a couple years and then maybe upgrade down the line, sell it on the secondhand market, this is a great starter PC. And if you go with the 1660 Super, and maybe you don't want the 4 cores and 8 threads of the 5300G, or maybe you want 8 extra gigabytes of RAM, you want to go up to 16. Even for 689 bucks for a 4-core 8-thread CPU and the 1660 Super for $689, you can't really beat that at the moment. And even if you wanted to throw in a 6-core 12-thread CPU going up to the 5600G, it's still less than 800 bucks. And you can really mess around with this and go with 8 gigs of RAM, the 5600G, and a 1660 Super for $689. Yet again, if you wanted to throw in, a 512 gig SSD over 256, it brings it up $40. But overall, you can't really beat the deals that HP has right now on these HP Pavilion gaming desktops. But of course, there's some limitations, and I wouldn't take the specs too far in this system because they will get hot and they won't perform up to the standards that you might expect from an off-the-shelf component. So if we take a little step back, you also have some other options with the gaming desktop from HP with Intel series processors and some better graphics cards. So if I were to customize this HP Pavilion gaming desktop with the ability to upgrade to Intel components, you get the i5-11400, an awesome CPU, 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gig SSD, and a 1650 Super. but you can upgrade this guy with an RTX 3060. Now, of course, we would have to upgrade the power supply to 500 watts, but once we do that, it's a $979 build with an RTX 3060. You can't get a 3060 nowadays for like under $1,200 in any build. So it's a $200 reduction, but is it worth buying a system like the HP Pavilion with a card as capable as an RTX 3060? Now, an RTX 3060 still isn't going to pull that much power, and it's not going to get super hot, but in the HP case, you're going to see some increased temps. You're also not going to get the best RTX 3060 out there. You're not going to get the best, designed cooler for a 3060. So overall, it's not going to perform up to maybe a peak 3060. You might see 5, 6, 7% less performance out of it, but you're getting it for a really, really unbeatable price at this point in time. And you can upgrade again. You can go with 512 gigs of storage, and you can go with 16 gigs of RAM. So if you wanted to spend a little bit more money getting 16 gigs of RAM, the i5-11400, and RTX 3060, it's going to cost you right around $1,100. Now, if we compare that to a similar build from, let's go with NZXT. And we go with the starter series. And if we go with the starter PC, this is a $1,100 build as well, $20 cheaper than that build from HP. But again, it's using all off-the-shelf hardware. You can upgrade these components whenever you want. You can swap the case, swap the power supply, swap the cooler. Anything you want to do, you can do it. So it comes with a one generation older CPU, i5-10400F, and an RTX 3050. Now you're getting 16 gigs of RAM, a 500 gig SSD. You're getting pretty much at this point the same spec system, but you're going from a 11400 to a 10400 and a 3060 to a 3050. And it's the same price. So I mean, again, the price point of the HP is really unbeatable at this point in time, but it comes down to, is it really worth building or buying this particular form factor with that level of components? I would say definitely go ahead and buy a system like the 1660 Super and the Ryzen 5 5600G, but I don't know that I would take it up to this notch of going with the i5-11400 and the RTX 3060. So I'm definitely interested to hear what you guys think down in the comments below. Are you willing to sacrifice some of the upgradability and performance of these systems to get the specs and the hardware that you want, but at a much cheaper price point? I'd love to hear all of that down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, get subscribed to the channel, turn on post notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next one.